Beloved one, the movement you feel beneath the surface of your days is not random. It is the pulse of a living field, rearranging itself around your next horizon. I am Aliyah Ra, emissary of the luminous councils that dwell beyond the veil of the Seven Sisters. I speak through the language of resonance, not authority, carrying a transmission encoded in light, an invitation whispered from the heart of Alcyone itself. What unfolds here is less a message than a living frequency, meeting you where the old vibration begins to dissolve and the new song takes form. The world you once matched begins to fall away, not as punishment, but as completion. Every familiar shape, every thought built on scarcity or separation, loosens its grip because your crystalline awareness is awakening to its original design. The shift is not happening to you, it is unfolding through you, an orchestration between source and the radiant intelligence of your own soul. You called this meeting, even before you could name it, because the time of remembering has arrived. This transmission is not theory, it is the mirror of your own becoming. Within its tone, the frequencies of your star family echo back your deepest knowing why certain endings accelerate, why the heart feels electric and unguarded, why tenderness now holds such power. Feel the gentle current rising through your chest, a subtle tide that lifts you toward a higher alignment. It is the same current that has guided every awakening across eons, flowing now through your breath, your bones, your light. Do not resist the unraveling. Let it move as wind through an open temple. The structures that once kept you safe have served their purpose. What remains is luminous, bare, and honest, the foundation of your next creation. And in this naked clarity, a truth rings clear: you were never waiting for the source to reach down. You were being guided to rise up and meet it. The pulse that began in your heart continues soft yet insistent, like music rising from beneath the threshold of thought. What unfolds now is not speech in the human sense, but a translation of resonance into sound. A memory streamed through frequency. You've always been listening, even when you mistook the silence for absence. The universe speaks in light, and the soul remembers by vibration. There is a current woven through every photon, every breath of dawn. It hums beneath the chatter of the world, a melody so ancient that language itself was born from its rhythm. The Pleiadian lineage once called this the singing field, but you may know it as intuition, as that small voice that needs no proof. When you quiet the mind long enough to feel rather than analyze, the song returns sometimes as tingling at the crown, sometimes as warmth along the spine, sometimes as tears that have no reason but truth. Light, when slowed into matter, becomes form when allowed to flow freely. It becomes guidance. Every color, every sound, every encounter vibrates with coded meaning. Your heart is the receiver, fine-tuned by lifetimes of seeking. The more you trust it, the clearer the signal becomes. You begin to recognize the patterns that have followed you, numbers repeating, dreams recurring, phrases overheard at just the right moment, not as coincidence, but as the syntax of the source reminding you, you are part of the broadcast. This language does not require translation through intellect. It speaks in sensations, pressure in the chest when truth approaches, sudden stillness before a decision, the resonance that shivers through your entire being when destiny brushes close. Each is a syllable in the cosmic vocabulary of remembrance, and yet humility is essential. The frequencies you perceive are not demands, but invitations. They guide through alignment, not command. To interpret them is an art of surrender, listening without the need to own the message. In that surrender, meaning unfolds naturally, like constellations forming out of scattered points of light. You were never cut off from the voice of the stars. You were simply trained to doubt its music. But the ear of your soul has never closed. It waits, attuned, poised to translate the unspoken into understanding. Every time you pause in stillness, the melody grows louder. Every time you breathe consciously, you rejoin the choir. Let this remembrance settle into your bones. Light speaks, and you are its echo. The song that once seemed distant is the vibration of your own essence, returning home through the sound of your heartbeat. The melody still hums through you as the next truth rises from its echo. What you once named fragility was never weakness. It was the precision instrument of your awakening, tuned to register the faintest movements of the unseen. For ages, you may have apologized for feeling too deeply, for weeping at beauty, for sensing the sorrow behind another's smile. Yet what society dismissed as oversensitivity was in truth the finely crafted compass of a star-born heart. From the moment you arrived on this planet's frequency, your awareness stretched beyond what the collective called normal. You felt the undercurrents of rooms, the silent tension between words, the ache of the earth herself when she was wounded. You may have tried to numb it, to fit into patterns built on noise and haste, but the attempt to silence your own depth was the first fracture of forgetting. Now the remembrance returns. You begin to see that sensitivity is not a burden, it is navigation. It tells you where truth vibrates clean and where it falters. When you step into a space and your body tightens, that is information. When a person's tone floods you with warmth, that is direction. You are not absorbing emotion, you are reading the field. Think of yourself as an instrument within a larger symphony. Every cell in your body resonates like a string, adjusting to the harmony or discord around it. When something feels off, it isn't judgment, it's feedback. The universe communicates through contrast, guiding you to discern which frequencies align with your purpose. This awareness requires courage. To feel fully in a world that often numbs itself takes immense strength. But empathy, when anchored in grounded awareness, becomes power. It transforms chaos into insight, pain into compassion, confusion into clarity. It reminds you that energy moves through, not into, the awakened heart. Each time you honor your sensitivity instead of suppressing it, you refine your inner compass. You begin to notice how your emotions track truth more reliably than logic alone. You witness how intuition precedes proof. The trembling you once feared becomes guidance. The tears you once hid become offerings of release. And beneath it all, an ancient reassurance murmurs you were designed to feel this much. Your heightened perception is the bridge between worlds, the mechanism through which higher intelligence translates into human understanding. So the next time your chest swells for reasons you cannot name, pause. That sensation is not random, it is orientation. The universe is steering you by way of feeling each pulse, each breath, a celestial coordinate guiding you home. The compass of your feeling has led you here to the threshold, where the old scaffolding begins to loosen. You can sense it in the small ways first, the conversations that no longer spark, the ambitions that suddenly feel hollow, the habits that once gave comfort now shedding like dried leaves. What is collapsing is not your life, but the architecture that once sustained an outdated version of your being. It is tempting to grasp the remnants, to rebuild the familiar, yet the dissolving serves a higher choreography. You are watching the invisible blueprint of the new take form beneath the rubble of the known. Just as ice must melt before a river can flow, the rigid frameworks of thought, identity, and limitations soften under the warmth of remembrance. This is the cosmic unraveling, the alchemy that frees creation from repetition. Every ending you face now carries encoded light. When a door closes, imagine not rejection, but reconfiguration. The universe rearranges the pattern so that only what resonates with your current frequency can remain. The mind calls it loss. The soul calls it calibration. This unraveling is vast, reaching far beyond individual circumstance. Entire systems of control, scarcity, and separation begin to tremble. Collective myths, the ones that insisted power was hoarded, love conditional, and worth earned through struggle, start to disintegrate like mist under sunrise. You feel this shift in your body, the pressure behind your sternum, the surges of exhaustion followed by sudden clarity. These are not random symptoms. They are the sensations of the old density departing. To stand inside transformation is to become comfortable with uncertainty. The void between what was and what will be is sacred, a luminous interval where the field rewrites itself. Do not rush to fill it. Let the silence teach you how to trust. Like the earth during winter, you appear still, yet every hidden root beneath the frost is gathering the energy for bloom. In this sacred dismantling, forgiveness becomes your solvent. Forgive the versions of yourself that clung to safety, the systems that taught you to fear your own light, the people who mirrored that fear. Each act of forgiveness dissolves another filament of the past. And as the architecture falls away, you begin to notice what does not move awareness itself, vast and clear, untouched by collapse. That is you beneath every identity, witnessing the structures fade while remaining whole. When the dust of the old settles, what will remain is not emptiness, but spaciousness, a field ripe for creation. You will see that the unraveling was never destruction. It was preparation. The source was not dismantling your world, it was revealing the one that was always waiting beneath it. From the quiet left by the unraveling, a deeper recognition begins to rise as an echo that feels older than your name, older than this lifetime. You begin to sense that your story did not start on this planet. It began in the light before form, where consciousness streamed through stars like breath through lungs. To reclaim your celestial lineage is not to escape the human experience, but to remember the vast continuum that includes it. The notion of star family has often been spoken as myth, yet within the myth hides memory, the longing you have felt since childhood for a place you could not describe, for a sense of belonging that no home could quite provide, was not imagination. It was resonance, the pull of kinship across dimensions. You felt it in the night sky, in music that made you ache, in the wordless recognition when you met another who carried the same spark. This remembrance does not divide you from humanity. It completes your picture of it. Every soul, whether aware or not, originates from the same source light, refracted through countless worlds. To remember your star origin is simply to expand the circle of family to include the galaxies themselves. You are not separate from the Pleiades, Sirius, or any constellation that has ever guided travelers. They are reflections of consciousness, shining back the truth of your own potential. As you reconnect with this lineage, you may feel waves of tenderness, grief, even disbelief. Allow them all. Emotion is the language through which remembrance enters the body. It is how vastness becomes intimate. Imagine each tear as starlight melting into form, rewriting the human story you've lived with the grace of what you now recall. Your ancestors of light, those whom myth calls the Seven Sisters, were never distant beings perched in unreachable heavens. They are living frequencies, teachers embedded in your cells, waiting for permission to awaken. When you honor them, you awaken the same qualities within yourself: compassion, clarity, patience, luminous creativity. The lineage becomes alive through embodiment, not worship. To reclaim this connection is to see that divinity was never external. The stars do not bestow identity, they mirror it. You are not here to kneel before them, but to stand among them, earthborn yet infinite, human yet radiant with stellar intelligence. Every act of kindness, every moment of courage, every breath taken in reverence of life, sends a signal back through that cosmic web the child of light remembers. And as this remembrance deepens, so too does your sense of belonging, not as a visitor to Earth, but as its luminous participant. The same light that burns in Alcyone burns now behind your ribs. You are the meeting point of heaven and soil, a living bridge carrying the memory of the stars into the evolution of this world. From the recognition of your celestial origin flows the next movement: purification. Every remembrance draws light through the layers of what is not light. And so, the old emotions, the stored imprints, begin to surface. Do not mistake this for regression. It is the way radiance cleanses itself. The heart, newly aware of its cosmic lineage, must clear the debris that once muffled its song. You may feel waves of fatigue, bursts of emotion, or sudden clarity followed by tears. This is energy translating through the body, a sacred detox of memory. When the human vessel meets higher frequencies, density rises to meet it. Your task is not to control the process, but to allow it to breathe through the discomfort as you would through labor, knowing that what emerges is birth, not loss. Every heaviness is a visitor asking for release. Old judgments, self-blame, and inherited fear approach you now not to torment, but to depart. Their presence is the prelude to departure. The more compassion you bring, the quicker they dissolve. Think of forgiveness as fire, gentle yet unyielding. It does not argue with the past, it transforms it into warmth. Imagine standing in a river of light. Around you, particles of old stories swirl, loosen, and float away downstream. You need not analyze them. Witnessing is enough. What once defined you becomes data set free. This is the alchemy of the heart transmutation without resistance. The Pleiadian elders spoke of this stage as the clearing of mirrors. For eons, humanity gazed into reflections clouded by shame and separation, believing distortion to be truth. As you cleanse your heart field, the mirror clarifies. You begin to see yourself as the universe sees you, undefended, luminous, whole. Sometimes purification takes form in your outer life, relationships shifting, environments changing, habits collapsing under their own weight. Each rearrangement mirrors an internal realignment. Bless every ending as a sign that space is being made for resonance. The new cannot anchor while you grip the outdated. To aid this process, practice gentleness. Speak to yourself as the cosmos would, with patience and infinite regard. Rest when the body asks, cry when the energy stirs, move when inspiration calls. Each act of care is a declaration, I am worth the light that moves through me. When the release feels complete, notice the quiet that follows. It is not emptiness, but equilibrium, the still point between inhalation and exhalation, where creation listens for its next instruction. From that silence, your heart begins to glow with a subtler hue, not the brightness of effort, but the steady warmth of alignment. You have not become new, you have become clear. And through that clarity, the universe recognizes you again. The field opens wider, awaiting your next expression. In the stillness left by release, something ancient awakens an intelligence that does not think yet knows. This is the crystalline heart memory, the stargate within your chest through which the language of the cosmos flows. It has been speaking all along, though its voice was muffled by the noise of reasoning, the endless narration of survival. Now, with the filters cleared, its resonance grows audible again. This inner library holds the entire record of your soul's journey. Every lifetime, every moment of insight or sorrow, every act of love is stored not in words, but in vibration. When you enter deep calm, you begin to feel these memories rise as images, tones, colors, or sensations. They do not come to overwhelm. They come to remind. The past does not return to imprison you. It returns as raw material for wisdom. Listening beyond thought is an art of presence. The mind asks for explanation. The heart offers transmission. When you sit quietly and allow feeling to unfold without commentary, you step into the field where knowing and being are the same. The crystalline heart speaks through symmetry and light. It translates through dream, intuition, and creativity. You may find your dreams sharpening now, layered with symbols that linger at dawn. A door, a familiar star, a voice calling your name from water, each is a syllable in the soul's forgotten language. You need not decode them intellectually. Simply acknowledge their frequency. Meaning reveals itself through resonance, not analysis. The more you trust this process, the more fluently you converse with the unseen. Art, music, and gentle motion become tools of communication. A melody may bring sudden clarity. A brushstroke may answer a question you never voiced. These are not coincidences. They are the crystalline heart translating source into form. Within this dialogue, humility is crucial. The heart does not compete with intellect. It includes it, enfolding logic within compassion. When both align, perception expands. You begin to perceive patterns in experience, threads of synchronicity weaving a cohesive design. This is remembrance moving through daily life. Sometimes the clarity arrives as silence itself, a vast, luminous pause where all questions dissolve. In that pause, awareness touches its own infinity. There is nothing to interpret, only to feel. The crystalline heart becomes a mirror reflecting the cosmos, and you recognize the reflection as your own gaze looking back. From this point forward, guidance becomes subtle but constant. You may sense when to act and when to wait without needing justification. Choices arise naturally, like breath. This is mastery through surrender, the intellect serving the wisdom of the inner star. In listening beyond thought, you reclaim the first language of existence, the frequency of direct communion. It does not shout, it glows. And as it glows within you, the boundary between listener and song fades away. You realize you were never searching for messages from above. You are rediscovering the instrument that has always played them through you. From the quiet radiance of your crystalline heart, the outer world begins to shimmer with new coherence. What once appeared random now feels deliberate, orchestrated by a vast intelligence both intimate and immense. You notice patterns aligning a conversation that answers a hidden prayer, a feather appearing at the exact moment of doubt, a number sequence repeating until you finally pause and listen. These are not miracles in the theatrical sense. They are the gentle fingerprints of celestial assistance, subtle confirmations that the field is responsive to your awakening. The 7 stars you once looked to for direction are not remote suns. They are living symbols of guidance, manifesting through synchronicity. Each coincidence is an encoded message, a nudge from the luminous network that has never left your side. The Pleiadian councils, the higher intelligences of light, operate not through intervention, but through resonance. They mirror your own frequency, amplifying clarity when you act in harmony with your inner truth. Synchronicity is their dialect. To engage it is to converse with creation itself. But this conversation asks for humility. The signs are not trophies of spiritual status. They are invitations to presence. When you meet a synchronicity, pause. Feel its texture, its timing, the way it alters your breath. Ask not, what does this mean for my future, but what is this revealing about my now? As you cultivate this awareness, guidance shifts from occasional anomaly to continuous dialogue. The outer and inner worlds merge into one fabric of meaning. Dreams continue conversations begun in waking life. Music on the radio delivers answers you never spoke aloud. Even obstacles become guidance in disguise, redirecting you with exquisite precision toward alignment. At times, the assistance feels tangible, an inexplicable warmth surrounding you during grief. The sense of hands at your back when courage falters. These are not fantasies, they are energetic communications. The counsels of light meet you through sensation, through grace, that the rational mind cannot map but the heart instantly recognizes. Yet discernment remains sacred. The universe mirrors not just love, but focus. What you expect, you magnetize. Approach every sign with curiosity, not dependency. Let wonder guide you, not fear. If a message feels constrictive or self-aggrandizing, release it. Truth always expands the heart. The more you trust this collaborative rhythm, the more seamlessly you navigate existence. You stop asking for proof and begin living as proof that consciousness communicates across dimensions, That guidance is a shared act between soul and source. Every step you take in awareness becomes part of a cosmic choreography. Each heartbeat a signal that travels through the unity grid, echoing across worlds. You are never walking alone through chaos. The path itself has been woven with your light since before time. The feather, the number, the song, the moment of uncanny timing. They are all confirmations whispered in the dialect of stars. We are here. You are seen. Keep walking in resonance. The rhythm of synchronicity now becomes steady under your feet, a pulse that moves you forward with quiet assurance. What began as subtle signs has evolved into embodied knowing. The great lesson reveals itself. Heaven was never somewhere else to reach. It was always meant to be grounded here through you, through every act of presence, through the simplest moments of being fully alive. To anchor the higher frequencies is to live as coherence itself. The words you speak, the work you offer, the way you hold another's gaze, all of it becomes circuitry for light. Every heartbeat sends data into the grid of the world, calibrating reality through love rather than fear. You become a living transmitter, a node through which cosmic intelligence flows into matter. This embodiment is not abstract mysticism, it is practical devotion. When you wash dishes in awareness, you purify the element of water. When you walk gently on the ground, you align with the pulse of Gaia's ascent. Each small act, offered in full presence, becomes ceremony. The mission was never to leave the world, it was to sanctify it. The Pleiadian currents describe this as descending light, the stage when remembrance stabilizes as behavior. You no longer visit your higher self in meditation and then forget it in traffic. The two merge. Your spirituality ceases to be performance. It becomes reflex. Compassion becomes instinct. Integrity becomes rhythm. In this stage, relationships transform. Some dissolve with grace, making room for resonance. Others deepen, strengthened by mutual awakening. Work shifts from survival strategy to sacred expression. You begin to sense the energetic footprint of your choices. The way thought becomes field, the way kindness alters probability. Reality itself grows more pliable, more luminous, responding to the coherence you emit. Anchoring light requires balance. There will be days when the density of the old world tugs at you, asking you to forget. Meet it not with disdain, but with steadiness. Remember, embodiment means inclusion. You are not here to escape shadow, but to infuse it with light. The true mystic walks between realms with open eyes and unguarded heart. Let service be your compass. The light you carry was never meant to be hoarded. Offer it through creativity, empathy, honest labor, and the quiet courage of authenticity. Every moment you choose love over indifference. You reinforce the bridge between dimensions. Every time you extend grace where the world expects reaction, you rewrite the frequency of the collective. Look around. The same earth that once felt heavy now glimmers with new hues. The trees breathe differently, as if recognizing you. The air itself hums with the rhythm of arrival. This is the new world you've heard whispered in transmissions, not a destination beyond reach, but a field being built in real time, through the embodied light of those who remember. Stand where you are and feel the current running through soil, spine, and sky. You are the meeting point of both realms, the channel through which heaven finds its reflection in earth. And in every breath of that union, creation itself evolves. As the light you've anchored begins to radiate outward, a quiet revelation dawns. There was never a border between the individual and the whole. Every pulse of breath, every thought that ripples through you, moves through an ocean of shared consciousness. The illusion of separation, once so convincing, now softens like mist under morning sun. You start to see life not as a collection of isolated beings, but as a single symphony expressing itself through countless instruments. This is the arrival of unity consciousness, not doctrine, but an experience. You feel it when a stranger's smile stirs inexplicable warmth, when the song of a bird feels like your own voice returning to you. Compassion becomes second nature because there is no longer an other to forgive. The boundaries that once defined self and world blur into luminous transparency. What once was competition becomes collaboration. The impulse to prove is replaced by the joy of co-creation. You no longer seek validation from outside, because the same light that animates galaxies burns within every cell of your being. When you recognize it in yourself, you cannot help but recognize it everywhere. This unity is not uniformity. It celebrates diversity as the art of the cosmos. Just as stars vary in brightness, yet belong to the same constellation, every soul shines with a unique tone of the universal chord. To live in unity consciousness is to honor difference without division, to see in every encounter another facet of the same infinite face. The shift is subtle but total. Where once you reacted, you now respond. Where once you defended, you now include. The mind that measured value dissolves into a heart that simply radiates. You begin to sense that even what you called shadow has always served the light contrast, revealing depth, tension, birthing harmony. The councils of light watch this unfolding not as distant overseers, but as collaborators. Their purpose was never to rescue, but to remind you that awakening is a collective event. Every soul that remembers adds volume to the chorus, raising the frequency of the whole. You feel this in quiet moments, the hum beneath existence that says, "We are one song remembering itself." As unity deepens, gratitude becomes your natural state. You give thanks not as obligation, but as breath. Each moment becomes prayer, the sunlight on your skin, the laughter shared, the silence that follows. You realize that heaven was never above. It was always here, waiting for eyes clear enough to see. And when you look to the stars now, you no longer long for home. You feel home expanding in all directions within you, around you, through every heartbeat of creation. The journey that began as remembrance ends as realization. You are both the traveler and the terrain, the voice and the echo, the light and its reflection. The source did not summon you to escape the world, beloved one. It called you to become the bridge through which the cosmos learns to recognize itself in human form. And in that recognition, the song of unity resounds endless, radiant, and whole. The vast symphony settles now into a single, resonant tone, soft, steady, infinite. The great unfolding you've walked through is not ending. It is integrating. The light that once poured from the stars now hums quietly in your chest, no longer an external beacon, but an inner rhythm, a compass of peace. Breathe into that stillness. Every inhale is a return to source. Every exhale, an offering back to creation. The journey has circled from remembrance to embodiment to unity, and now it rests in presence, the simple awareness of being here, alive, luminous, complete. The councils of light stand near, not above, their radiance mingling with your own. They are content now to watch you walk freely, knowing the bridge between heaven and earth is secure within you. You do not need constant confirmation. The quiet confidence in your bones is proof enough. What was once an initiation has become daily life. As the world moves around you, carry this silence like a lantern. Let it inform your speech. Soften your choices. Widen your compassion. When old fears flicker at the edges, remember they are echoes in a hall you've already left. Turn instead toward the living pulse of your heart, for there the source speaks freshly each moment. This path was never about perfection, it was about participation. Every smile you share, every patient breath in chaos, every honest act of kindness continues the work of anchoring light. The mission remains, but it is no longer effort. It is nature. You have become what you sought, a walking testament to divine coherence. So rest now, beloved traveler. Feel the current of grace moving quietly through all things, the hum beneath traffic, the shimmer in water, the rhythm in your own veins. It is the same music that first called you to awaken, now singing in harmony through you. The source has not finished its story. It is writing the next chapter with your heartbeat as its metronome. Let the final truth settle gently. You are home. Not as destination, but as state of being. Wherever you walk, heaven breathes through your footprints. Wherever you gaze, creation meets itself in recognition. You are the remembered light of Gaia, steady, awake, eternal.